Hi everybody, welcome to this video which covers Module 14 for Business Math and Calculators. This module involves evaluating algebraic expressions as well as using formulas. So we're going to do a few example problems to illustrate the steps involved in evaluating expressions. And with that, I will share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so evaluating algebraic expressions and using formulas. So in our first sample problem, we're going to evaluate an expression. And an expression in math is basically a combination of variables, numbers, and operations. So in this problem, our expression is 2x plus 3y. And it's kind of it's algebraic in the sense that it doesn't really have a context to it. But it gives us an opportunity to kind of practice the process of evaluating and coming up with a numerical solution. What we're going to do is we're going to evaluate this expression if x is equal to 4 and if y is equal to 3. All right, so the first step is, and this is something that I recommend to help you kind of keep things straight, is take the original expression and everywhere you see a variable, put it in a set of parentheses to kind of serve as placeholders, all right? The parentheses do a couple of things. Number one, they give you a place where you can actually fill the numbers in, so they give you some space to write in. But what they also do is they remind you of situations where you may potentially have to multiply. Remember when a number and a letter are side by side, like 2x or 3y, that means multiplication. Parentheses also mean multiplication, so it kind of helps remind you of that operation. Now, once you've replaced the variables with the parentheses, now the next step is to go ahead and put the numbers into those parentheses. Where the x was at, we're going to put 4. Where the y was at, we're going to put 3. All right, now that you've done that, now we are dealing with a numerical expression where you follow order of operations in order to simplify. So when we think about order of operations, the first step is grouping symbols. Now there are parentheses in this problem, but there's nothing to simplify inside of them because they're already single numbers. So that means we can go ahead and skip that step. The next stage is exponents and roots. There are no powers or roots in this problem, so we can skip that step. So that brings us to multiplication and division. And we have two places where we're multiplying, so we do that from left to right. So 2 times 4 is equal to 8. And then after we do that, we have 3 times 3, which is equal to 9. And then finally, addition and subtraction is the final step in order of operations. We have one addition step, so 9 and 8 are added together to get you 17. And there's our solution. When we evaluate the given expression, we come up with a solution of 17. And that's your ultimate goal, is to plug in the numbers that they indicate and come up with a single numerical answer. All right, let's do another example of this type of problem. Okay, so this time we are given the expression x squared, or x to the second power, minus 3y. And again, we're going to evaluate it if x equals 5 and if y equals 2. So again, job number 1, take the original expression and everywhere you see a letter, put in a set of parentheses, leave the other numbers and operations in place. So we're leaving the second power, the squared part, and the minus 3 in there. Once you've got those parentheses in place, go ahead and replace or put in those spaces the numbers that they indicated. So where the x was at, we want to put in a 5, and where the y was at, we're going to put in 2. Again, we now have a numerical expression that we can simplify using order of operations. So we start with parentheses. There's nothing inside the parentheses to simplify any further since we have just single numbers. So we're going to skip to the next step, which is exponents and roots. We do have a power, 5 to the second power in this case. So 5 times 5 is 25. Now we've got multiplication and division. We've got the 3 and the 2 that needs to be multiplied. So 3 times 2 is 6. So we have 25 minus 6. And finally, we need to take care of addition and subtraction. So we're going to subtract in this case. And it looks like we end up with 19. So our final numerical solution is 19. And there you go. So in these two examples, again, these were kind of just generic algebraic expressions. They didn't really have any meaning associated with them other than to serve as a way to kind of practice the process of evaluating. What we're going to shift gears now to is working with a formula. And basically the process is exactly the same. The difference is with a formula, there tends to be some sort of context associated with the formula. There's meaning behind the variables that are in the problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with this first one. So a formula that is pretty common in math is the area formula for a rectangle. Area equals length times width. So the A, the L, and the W all have meaning associated with them. A stands for area, length stands for the length of the rectangle, and W stands for the width. So what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the area if the following values are given, if the length is 7 inches and if the width is 12 inches. So we're going to start with our formula, and just like what we did with the expression, we are going to replace the variables with parentheses to kind of hold that spot. We're not going to replace the A because that's what we're ultimately trying to figure out. That's what we're trying to find the number for. So we keep the A equals in there and only change the W and the L into parentheses. Once we have the parentheses in place, now we go ahead and substitute in our actual numbers that the problem indicated. So we're going to put 7 in for where the L was at and 12 in for the W. Again, order of operations, parentheses are already taken care of since the numbers are already simplified inside of them. There are no powers. We do have multiplication, so 7 times 12 is what we need to find, and that's 84. No addition or subtraction, so we're down to that single number, and we are finished. The only thing really left to do in this problem is, because it does have context, a lot of times there might be a label associated with it. So in this particular situation, area is indicated by square units. So since we took 7 inches times 12 inches, we end up with the 84 inches squared. So that just happens to be the label. But 84 is the number that we are ultimately trying to get. Let's do one more formula example. This is one that you're going to see a lot later on in this course. And this is the formula for simple interest. Interest, or I, is equal to P times R times T. The P stands for principal, the R stands for the annual rate, and the T stands for time. So we're going to find the interest if P equals 500, if R equals 0.06, and if T equals 4 years. So again, we're going to go ahead and replace each of the variables with the parentheses. Then we're going to substitute in the values that we were told. So 500 in for P, 0.06 in for R, 4 in for T. And now we want to go through order of operations. There's no parentheses to simplify further. There's no exponents. So now we're going to go multiplication from left to right. So 500 times 0.06 is 30. 30 times 4 is 120. Interest is talking about money. So our final answer is $120. And there you go. We've just solved or evaluated the formula for interest. All right, so there you go. Hopefully those examples helped give you a little bit of understanding of evaluating expressions and working with formulas. Remember, it's basically order of operations with an added step of having to plug some numbers into the formula or into the expression first, and then you just follow order of operations to simplify after that. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope the video was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.